Hello and welcome to week 10, chapter 16. I hope you all enjoyed your spring break, and we'll go back into full swing this week, taking a look at the new chapter. This chapter is starting smart on your first day, so it's kind of appropriate. We're coming back, from our little short break. What do we do on our first day when we actually get the new job? This is really tailored for the younger crowd that's looking at, maybe their first position in. As an assistant or a production assistant, or an entry level job in Hollywood. I guess that could be anybody of any stature, any stature of experience as well. Anybody coming into a Hollywood job for the first time. That's what we're looking at. But of course, all of this applies to any kind of employment. Starting smart on your first day, knowing what to expect, aligning your expectations with your boss, all of the things that we're going to talk about today in this chapter certainly applicable into other avenues other than just entertainment as well. So it's always good to keep that in mind too. I am Angelo Ford, your professor. Nothing's changed there. We're still in CTVR 280, coming into the back half of the course. My recommended films are still up. You're always welcome to go look at those. I have the ones that are applicable most to employment, and then I've got other lists in there that you're welcome to look at in Letterboxd as well. I've listed my favorite rankings of Star Wars, and the classes, the films that I find applicable for all my other classes are in there as well. So feel free to explore that. And of course, you're welcome to contact me, as some of you have been doing, on Canvas or my actual Saddleback email, aford@saddleback.edu. Again, starting smart, on starting the first day of employment in Hollywood in an entertainment job at a production company on a set, working as a production assistant on a set for the first time. Really talking about that entry level first day. And of course, it applies to, beyond as well. Whenever you're starting a new job, it's always good to look at some of these elements as you're going through on that first day. It reminded me, as I was reading the chapter, actually way back in, when my first day in a flight squadron in the Air Force, as I was starting to go through some of the general principles that the book lists out. I thought, man, these seem really familiar to me. I've definitely read a list like this before. And I pulled out my old pilot training journal, and this is a picture of a page that I was actually thinking of. When I came into the flight squadron for the first day, these procedures, these principles were up on the wall, and I kind of took a picture of them, and I made a copy of some of the literature that was in the class, room in the flight guides and stuff. I cut them up and I put them into, a journal. And this one certainly is applicable to what we're talking about with general principles. Being early, one of the first things it says right in the book there on my actual flight squadron was, being an hour and 15 minutes early to your first jet or simulator to be able to review your notes and go over the flight training. Not just 15 minutes like I, recommend for you in most of our entertainment type of stuff, but an actually hour and 15 minutes, But being early is certainly one of those principal key elements of being successful. The one that really, pinged for me was the no whining. I kind of find it funny that in a book about working in entertainment, and it is certainly applicable on film sets and in film related jobs, entertainment related jobs, there is zero tolerance for whining. And it reminded me of my days in the military. It was the same type of thing. Zero tolerance for whining in the flight squadrons. You can see all these little joke things that I posted in, that I found in the squadron about formal briefs. Don't whine. Being customs and courtesies in the flight line. Whining is neither a custom or a courtesy. Training documentation. Don't whine. Don't whine. Don't whine. They drilled it in everywhere in the military to us not to whine. Everybody knows it's hard. That's why you're here. It's a thing that's super challenging, and you're the top of the spear to be in this room. So don't whine that it's hard. And it's the same element when it comes to filmmaking. Everybody around you in filmmaking knows how hard it is. They know that they barely can feed themselves in the beginning years until they found work. Another key principle is learning people's names. You bump into other people of your own level, other assistants, other production assistants, And people above you as well, always try to learn their names. It's just so much more of a connection when you're working with people and you know their name and then they start to know your name. It just builds on itself of being a good thing to do as a guided principal. Another is presenting solutions. Don't be the assistant that comes to the boss every week with a new problem. Come with solutions. You're still presenting the problem. You're not necessarily going to be the one that solves it on your own, but you're actually presenting it with a solution rather than just the problem itself. And offer your inputs and really get in the habit of trying to present things as solutions and not problems. It can be very difficult sometimes. Some things are way bigger than you, but when it comes to little stuff around the office, things that you might be able to give some input on after you've been there a little while, certainly present a solution with a problem, not just the problem itself. A big thing when you're in an entry level position is staying busy. There's going to be lots of opportunity for you to sit around and do nothing. And there's certain people that are. Those people don't often get asked back to the position. They certainly don't get recommended for another position. Whenever you're sitting around and there's nothing to do, find something to do. This was another element of my pilot training, that it reminded me of. Whenever we were sitting around in the flight room, the study room, we were expected to have a book out and be studying aviation procedures, flight procedures, weather procedures, anything related to the actual flying. Was always an expectation. You weren't just going to be sitting around doing nothing. It's not, and it's there's plenty of time on your own when you can do that. Sit around, look out the window, and imagine the clouds being various shapes. When you're working for somebody, when you're on a set, when you're actually in an office, find something to do, even if it's cleaning up the break room. Organizing your desk, always be doing something, never be sitting just with nothing to do. That feeds into the next one, which is don't gossip as well, which is when people have nothing to do, they stand around the proverbial water cooler and gossip. Hang around in the break room and gossip. Don't be one of those people. Don't spread gossip. Don't start gossip. It's just don't even get involved with gossip. Early on in your career, it's just not even something that you should even be wasting your time with. There's plenty of other things to find to keep you entertained, be educating yourself. Even just on the basics of what's going on in the office is still something better than gossiping about the latest trend or whatever's going around. Speaking of going around, be easy to be around. Be the type of person that people want to hang around with. They want to talk to. They want to ask opinions on. They want your input on a project, or a problem that they're having. They're asking you for a solution. Be one of the type of people that people like being around. It goes back up to the top of the general policies here, principles about being happy. Of course, we're not happy all the time. We get down, we get depressed. But when you're at work, try to put all that aside, focus on the positive, and really, try to be happy in what you're doing. If you're not happy in what you're doing, you probably should find something else because it's not something that's magically going to change overnight. Even if $1 million dropped onto your lap, that might enable you to do more things that might make you happy, but it's not necessarily going to innately provide you with happiness in itself. So you need to find ways to be happy, and that includes the job itself. If it's something that's not providing you some kind of happiness as you're doing, you really need to think about if it's the right fit for you. Because if you're happy, you're going to learn new things. You're going to know a lot, and you're going to be the person that people come to answer questions. If you're cleaning up around the office and you're staying busy, you're doing a lot. Again, when people see you as busy, they're going to want to be around you and be part of that, not sitting around with nothing to do. And it plays into the whole concept of just working hard. You need to be working harder than all of your peers, everybody around you, if you want to be the one that's charging forward with success. So always be the one that people want to be around. And if you don't know something, if something's outside of your wheelhouse, it's well beyond a question that you can answer, don't pretend to know the answers. Find somebody that knows the answer. Look up the answer. Don't just pretend to know it and pretend to be the expert. It's not worth it in the end. So, just some general principle tips. The big ones again: be happy, know a lot, learn a lot, do a lot, work hard. Expectations are a huge part of that happiness. I know for me personally in life, when my expectations are out of alignment with, the reality of what's around me, that's often when I'm the most unhappy. If I'm going to see a movie and I've read a whole bunch of, really incredible reviews on IMDb and Letterboxd and Rotten Tomatoes, and then I go and see the film and it's like, holy geez, this was a stinker, man. Way outside of the expectations of what I thought. Versus I'll go see the same stinker movie with no expectations at all and walk out feeling, yeah, that wasn't too bad, as kind of what I've expected of a Sharknado 7. It's because it's in alignment with my expectations. This is a big part about when we're working in a new office the first day, figuring out what those expectations are for both yourself as a new employee and for your boss and the office around you. What do people expect of an intern? What do people expect of a production assistant on a set, on a studio film? You really have to figure out what that is pretty soon, from the time of getting hired, if not already before. If you know people that are already in those positions, figuring out what some of those expectations are on a daily basis can really put you ahead. And if not, from that first day when you show up, start asking questions. What's the most important daily task that somebody needs to get done around here? Try to figure that out by observing, by asking other people. Are there any projects that you would like me to start on immediately? Find out what projects your boss is doing, what other people are doing, and where you can help. If you aren't around, who can I ask for a question? These are all the kinds of questions. I'm sure you can come up with plenty more on your own that can help you identify what the expectations are in the office and then what you expect to get from the job as well. Don't go into some assistant position thinking that you're going to be, finding a manager and getting a screenplay sold out of that, when in reality, your job is like literally getting coffee and answering emails for a producer. You really have to have a clear expectation of what you can get out of the position and then what's expected of you. And that really, again, comes from just asking questions, being observant, familiarizing yourself with the organization. And again, you do that by introducing yourself to others, being that person that other people want to be around, particularly the other assistants. If you're working at a production company and there's assistants for all of the individual producers, meet them, introduce yourself, find out where they hang out. Do they go to, do they work after work? Do they go to the same gym? Do they go to lunch sometimes together? Really find all that out and then integrating yourself into that. Sounds silly, but make sure you take the time to walk around and just know where the bathrooms are, the restrooms, the break rooms, where people go outside the building to have a break for a little walk and come back, after some personal time. Familiarize yourself with the environment without having to ask somebody else how to do that. I mean, you should be able to find all that kind of stuff on your own. The same goes for other departments. Walk around, find HR, find the other departments that you interact with on a daily basis and get to know the assistants and the chain of command for each one of those departments. It's really going to be beneficial in the long run. And then same thing, where the others hang out. People usually hang out together in a work environment during the day, after work. Do people participate in any kind of clubs? Do they do anything together? Kind of find all of that out and just again build those expectations, learn those expectations, and then align them together. And that's really, to me, where a big part of finding happiness is and getting the most out of the opportunities. The book has the AWB role, which I really do like. And the first part of it is anticipate what needs to be done, work harder than anybody else, and then be fun to be around. That's the A, the W, and the B where comes from. And anticipating what needs to be done is a big part of your role. Trying to find out what happens on a daily basis, what are the routines, getting ahead of the ball so that you can really offer solutions to problems before they're even problems, sometimes even avoid the problem completely. I love what the little chart over to the right has an illustration of that, these 6 levels of proactive support, how they really play into this concept of anticipating what needs to be done. And it really comes down to a level of proactiveness. If you're the type of person that's ignoring what's going on in the office, you're not paying attention to the daily routines of who's coming in and out of your boss's office, you're not really doing anything to help be proactive if a problem comes along. The next stage of that is being reactive. You're at least not ignoring it. When there is a problem, you're reacting to it and trying to solve it, but you're taking action after the issue. The whole idea is that we want to try to get ahead of that issue and anticipate needs and problems before they come along. And a huge component of that is being alert, straight here in the center of our little chart to the right. Just being alert, being observant, what's going on in the office. You're starting to pick up on the fact, oh, this person comes in every day, and then my boss is pissed off in the afternoon. Well, what's going on? Find out the circumstances around that, and then see how you can help the self-healing process, providing helping the whoever it is, with the self-healing of that problem, to identify, what they can do. Then the big one is the preemptive. This is like you're starting to figure out, oh, that person comes in, at noon. My boss normally has a conference call at 2 and she's pissed for it because guy comes in. Is there any way I can start rescheduling that guy so he comes in, after her call so she can at least be, proactive and responsive and happy on that call? These are the little things that you start picking up on when you're working in the office and you're being observant, little preemptive things that you might be able to do. And then, of course, the top of that pyramid is avoiding it altogether. Why is this guy even coming in? Does he have to come into our office? Of course, I'm talking on a professional level too. Maybe it's her ex-husband. We don't know, right? But finding out what the story is and if this is a professional thing that we can provide input on, we certainly should be. And I'm using as an example as well, any other thing that we can try to get to this tip of the spear with, which is the avoidance of that need or problem. We're really talking about what the book is referring to when we're saying anticipating what needs to be done. These are just the levels that you can work towards of proactiveness to get to be able to anticipate things. The next one is working harder than anybody else, and there's so many quotes that you can find about this from NBA players, to Elon Musk, millions of people, throughout history. Working harder than somebody else is one of the key components because somebody is always going to be working harder than you. So you have to be constantly, sharpening your spear, sharpening your pencil to be able to work harder than they are, to try to do your best to always, you know, be giving it everything that you can to really put that passion into it to move forward and do your best to try to work harder than the next person. And then, of course, this one keeps popping up is to be fun around. We saw it in our principles. We're certainly seeing here as part of this AWB rule, which is to be a person that's fun to be around. Be happy, be a problem solver. You do your best to put that happy face on at work and really, be the person that other people want on their team. Some common tasks that you'll find, again, this is the book breaks it down into an assistant, a production assistant, and then everybody else, but I kind of meshed them all together for you. And these are really, to me, the big ones that are applicable to no matter what you're doing for a job, but particularly on that first day, and certainly if you're an assistant to somebody, or you're a production assistant, or you're working on a set at an entry level position. These are some of the most common things that you're going to be seeing and dealing with. Handling phones and email. If you're in an office setting, absolutely, you're going to be screening calls, taking notes. You're going to be answering emails all day long. If you're on a set, you're going to be taking notes for people. The director is on set directing. You're going to be out by the crafty table taking notes from the production designer, the second AD, and you're going to be the one helping communicate all of that. So it might be phones, it might be emails, it might be, the walkie-talkie on set, but you're going to be handling the communications and feeding that to the people when they need to hear them because they're too busy doing it at the current moment. All of that will be getting logged somehow, typically in call sheets. If you're in an office, you'll have a book for logging calls, for everything that's either made or received. Same thing on a set. You'll have a little logbook for, something that you need to communicate to the director when he or she isn't actually filming on a hot set. You want to keep notes on everything with these call sheets. You can use whatever method you want, Excel spreadsheets, notes, Google Keep, an actual physical, handbook, notebook. There is a great book that I recommend. I'll put the link in the actual description of the video. It is this one right here, the HAH, which is the Hollywood Assistants Handbook. You can find it over here on Amazon, 6.39 for a paperback copy. Really well worth it. I highly recommend that one. Um, if you've never seen that before, check it out. And again, you can find the link in the description. Keeping a calendar, it's definitely going to be an assistant, a production assistant on set. You're the one that's working probably with the second AD to keep the calendar, to help out maybe with call sheets, scheduling, rescheduling meetings, locations, all that kind of stuff. Learn people's commitments, learn their routines, learn everything it is to help keep the calendar of where it is that you're working, the schedule of wherever you're working. Definitely be a part of that, and you'll find yourself to be just keep on moving up the ranks as people find that you can do more and more than just be a basic assistant. One of those basic assistant jobs that you absolutely can expect is ordering food and coffee for the office, making sure that it's there every day. If you're on a set, learning what the office likes, visiting local shops where things come from. If you're the one that's placing the orders for your boss, where she eats lunch every day, where he eats lunch every day, learn where that food comes from. Go visit those places, make friends with the people who are actually making it, and you'll just find that it makes your life much easier when you're running late and you need to place an urgent call, or you need 20 lunches today instead of 10. If you actually go to these places, engage with people, you'll find they're much more responsive to you. Same thing goes for local restaurants. Maybe your boss is having people in this weekend and he needs you to schedule a dinner for sushi. Know where the local First of all, know what his likes, dislikes, what his clients typically like, and know where you can find restaurants like that in the local area to be able to get in there. And again, go eat there yourself. Go with a friend. Go with a boyfriend, girlfriend. Um, Go to the restaurant yourself, know what the menu is, make friends with the people there, and you'll just find that, quote unquote, greasing all of those wheels helps you later on. Even on something as small as, coffee and food issues. Arranging travel is another thing you can expect. Whether or not you're on set or you're in a production office, ask whoever it is that you're working for their preferences. What their seating preferences are for aviation. For mode of transport. If they're taking cars around town, do they prefer an Uber, a Lyft, or a private, luxury car? Find all that out and then coordinate it with the calendar as well, and maintain all that travel arrangements. There will be just a ton of odd jobs that come up as an entry level assistant or production assistant, or all these entry level jobs. Sometimes you might have to buy gifts for people. You might have to research a topic and then present on it in a meeting. You might just pass that information off for your boss to present. You might have to run around errands all over the city, all over LA, all over Louisiana, all over Vancouver. Finding something for production or for the set or for a producer. If it is legal, do it. Be happy to do it. Be glad that they're asking for you. And if it's not legal, be clear that you're not going to do it. Tell whoever it is clearly that I'm not comfortable producing this or working on this task. I don't feel like it's something that I'm comfortable doing or is legal to me, and I don't want to do it. Be very clear about saying no. Don't give people the false impression that you're like on the fence and they might be able to talk you into doing something illegal. You never have to do something illegal. And if you get fired from a place because you won't do something illegal, be glad. You're out of that environment. Move on, go forget about it and do something else. You don't want to be in a place where people are making you or asking you to do things that are illegal. Don't compromise your own integrity for somebody else. It never pays off. Some rules to live by from the book that they suggest. And again, I do agree with these. I kind of summarized them from a few different things. It's certainly applicable to all the work, but super applicable to assistants. One of them is to be quick but not hurried. And I know that sounds kind of confusing, but really think about it. Being quick is doing something in an organized manner. You're moving with intention. You're deliberate in what you're doing. You're just doing it fast. Being hurried is like the same thing, except there's no intent, there's no deliberation. You're just hurried, moving stuff around, trying to organize things, and you're barely in control. And when you're in this kind of situation, it's usually when we make mistakes. So you want to be quick with things, you want to be fast with things, but that's doing it with intention, not just being rushed. Trying to go through the elevator door at the last second with a handful of coffee. Think about what's going on. If you can make that door and be quick and shuffle through, sure, go for it. But if the door's just about closing and your boss is like standing there with a nice white shirt on, don't try to squeeze and hurry through the elevator door. Think about what's actually happening, and really analyze the situation between being quick and being hurried. You want to be the go-to gal or the go-to guy, the person that everybody needs or wants on their team. I try to do this in everything I've ever done. Whether it was a pilot, a business executive, working on sets, and now as a professor, even as a professor, I always try to be the go-to person for somebody to find and help them with their problems. And you do that by learning as much as possible about the organization you work in, the people that work in it with you, all of that. Try to find out as much as possible and then anticipate and solve problems like we talked about in that triangle of being proactive. But being that person that people come to for advice, come to help solve their problems, really going to help propel you into the next level. One thing that is kind of difficult is managing egos. This goes for your own ego as well. You're young and you're working in a nice production studio. It's easy to get swept away by the whole idea of it. When you've got friends out there that have been looking for 2 years for a position in entertainment and they're not finding anything, and here you are, happy in a beautiful, like fun, hip production office downtown LA. You got fun sofas and free food all over the place, and you love working with this cool boss. You get to see movies before they come out or hear about screenplays when they're in process. It's very easy to get swept up in all that, even at your level. So just imagine what it's like at the upper levels for the people that are cutting those deals. So you really have to manage both your own ego and the egos of those people around you. Avoid oversharing. Avoid like telling your opinion to everybody in the office. This is one thing that you can really do to kind of just rein it in. Let everybody else voice their opinions and tell you everything about themselves, but you be the person that's reserved and you kind of just give educated or input on that. Listen more than you speak. Sit back and listen to other people as they're going to want to talk to you all day. They're going to tell you their stories about their cats, their kids, their trip to work today. Go ahead and let them. And give your commentary on it, but try your best to limit that and not participate in the gossip side of it. Provide validity to others, but know the limits of that. Know where that input is then crossing a line between professional and personal, and managing the egos that go along with that. It can be very difficult, but it's just a part of working in an office environment that takes time. This last one here, it's not the last one. There's another one under it. I forgot. But being loyal is a huge one. This applies to every kind of organization. And if you're unhappy, channel that unhappiness into finding a new job, finishing the work that you're currently assigned to and moving on. Don't speak nasty about a company that you're not happy about on Instagram or TikTok. I see it all the time. Literally, every time I go onto TikTok, I see somebody complaining about their job at Starbucks or some other company. Don't do it. It's not worth it, particularly in entertainment. We're all so interconnected, and everybody is so like egotistical about their position. It's so not worth it for you to go and speak it out into social media all over the world. Be loyal to who you're working for, what you're doing, and if you're not happy, go find something somewhere else. Because it all is this bottom base one here that I kind of made as the base. I pulled it from all these from the book, but the bottom one here is it's not personal, and it's not. Nobody cares about you the personal aspect of it. So let the stuff just roll off of you. All of this flack that's going on in an office, he said, she said, gossip, don't let it bother you. Just let it roll off. If you did mess something up and something is on, heat is on you, apologize for it, move on. Don't get too wrapped up on it. Don't get, sometimes people love to yell, in an office environment. It blows up, seems so inappropriate. Don't let it hang on you. Let it slide right off, and don't take it personally. Some words of advice. Again, another little clip from the book that I liked here. One is be friendly. This goes back to being the person that people want to be around. Make those personal connections with everybody that you interact with. Smile. Be happy at work. Try to let the weight of the world go away when you're inside of that office and really find happiness in what you're doing. And it'll reciprocate, and people will smile back and learn the people that are, always happy in the office and glad to be around you. What that'll do is build community, initiate conversations with other peers, people in the organization. Again, find out where they hang out, what they like to do outside of work. Maybe you can go mountain bike riding together or hiking together. Really build those connections and then make real connections. I got the picture of the show Community. It's such a great illustration of everything I'm talking about, where this little work group, on TV turns into an actual community. Rather than just a community college group of students. Really fun show to watch there that highlights that too, by the way. And we're really getting to is making genuine connections with people that when people are gossiping the office, this, that, just stay away from them. Be the one that's the connector of people. Be the one that people want to come to engage with, and to grow in the office environment. You're bound to have mistakes. The book puts them into three groups. I kind of put them into three groups myself here. How do you handle those mistakes? They're going to happen, first of all. Some of them can be mitigated. Some of them can be avoided completely with what we were talking about earlier on those levels of proactiveness. But pay attention to your work, avoid being hurried, and if you don't know something, ask it. That's the best advice I can have for avoiding mistakes. And then if for mitigating mistakes, if you do make one, acknowledge it, don't be defensive, fix the problem, and move on. Don't make unnecessary escalation of a problem. Turn it big into something bigger than it really needed to be. An illustration the book gives is like, the first one is like the forgivable offenses, making simple mistakes. You got the wrong food order for your boss, laziness around the office gossip. It's basic stuff. It's easily forgivable and easily correctable. Somebody says, say, I notice you're just hanging out at your desk all day. But there's tons of like organization that needs to be done in the filing room. Do you think you could help out with that? Oh, absolutely. I didn't know that was there. And then you never hang out at your desk again. You've taken that message to heart. It's not very serious. It's a small mistake. In the aviation, we would call that a caution. We have these three levels of mistakes in aviation too. A caution is like telling you that you need to be aware of something. A warning is telling you that, hey, something pretty bad is happening and you need to take some attention and fix this immediately. And then an emergency is, hey man, your airplane's on fire. If you don't fix this immediately, we're all going to die. So in aviation, we have three levels: caution, warning, and emergency. And we have these three levels in work and everyday life too. The second one is serious errors. There's having constant negativity, poor attention to work, constantly showing up late. These are pretty serious things that somebody's probably told you a couple times and you're not correcting them. If you don't continue to correct them, they're going to escalate even more and become major issues that you're likely going to get fired for. Which is the third one: major fuck ups, major F ups, stealing, lying, humiliating your boss, disappearing during the day. They call these federal offenses in the book. And it's like instantly fireable material. You've crossed the line. You're not even elevating from a small problem. These are like big problems, right? Boom, it's a big problem. You stole something, you lied, you humiliated your boss intentionally. So think about these three categories: most serious, medium serious, and then small mistakes. The book defines them a little bit differently as well. You can read in a bit more on that. But the big thing to me is, you can avoid mistakes. You can mitigate them. If they do become serious problems, nip them in the butt, take care of them. You don't want them becoming major F-ups, emergencies, where it's something that's likely to get you fired. So that's just my input on handling mistakes. That they are going to happen throughout time. So being aware of that and acknowledging them and not being defensive is the key. Chapter 16 exercise this week on page 182. Again, two things. One is to choose two people at work and then find some small thing that they do or some small task in their normal day and try to make it easier for them. If another person is going over to the copier every day and there's like 4 collated copies and she goes up and like she has to take them out and she stacks them next to the copier, and it takes a couple minutes, like 5 minutes, and you happen to have 5 minutes, go over there, sort them, stack them, and put a note on them that says, they're pre-done, have a great day, something fun, small like that, Just find small things and try to make them easier for people, make them have an easier life in their work. amazing things can come from this. And they do not have to be very big things at all. They can be very small things. So take a look at that in the exercise. And then the second one that they have is to find 5 things at your current job and anticipate, again, apply that AWB rule that we talked about earlier. Anticipate somebody's need, be the hardest worker you can at that, and have fun what you're doing around those 5 things. And then note the responses that come from people, and kind of adjust your behavior to see where that goes. So there's a couple exercises that you can do on page 182 there. Another thing to take a look at, I'll put this link in the bio description as well. But there's a great guide on Indeed.com on how to work in the how to work in the entertainment career, starting your career inside the entertainment industry. So a really good article. Take a gaze over at that, read through it, see if it helps you. I do like Indeed. I think that you can find some great jobs in there, and they do write good articles as well. So definitely follow up on that link. Take a look at that if you get a chance. That is everything that I have for you today on our chapter of really starting smart on a new position in entertainment. I hope you find it helpful. Be sure to go through and check out the rest of the information on Canvas, follow through in the articles, and have a great week. Thanks.